So, have you ever listened to a piece of music, I don't know, a big symphony or even just a simple jingle, and felt like everything just fits, that everything is perfectly in its place? Well, that feeling, it isn't magic, it's actually mathematics. There's this hidden structure inside almost every piece of music. We call it symmetry. And basically, it's a balanced arrangement of notes and rhythms. Kind of like the balance you see in a snowflake. It just means one part of the music mirrors another, making the whole thing feel complete.
Exactly. And our brains love that. There's a reason it feels so pleasing. Symmetry gives us a feeling of stability, of predictability. Our brains can process those patterns really easily, and that makes listening to the music, well, rewarding. When you start to understand it, you're not just hearing sounds anymore. You're actually seeing the math inside the music.
Okay, so let's break that down. Where's the best place to start?
Let's start with the most literal type of symmetry, mirroring.
Mirroring, like looking in a mirror.
Yep. We sometimes call it vertical symmetry
Yeah.
because it's all about pitch, how high or low the notes are.
And what's the technical term for that?
It's called inversion.
Inversion.
It just means a melody line is literally turned upside down. So if the original melody goes up by, say, 3 steps,
The inverted one goes down by 3 steps.
you got it.
Yeah.
It's a perfect reflection. Imagine a line of symmetry running right through the middle of the musical staff. Any note above that line gets a matching note the same distance below it.
That sounds really complex to write.
It is, but composers like Bach were masters at it. I mean, he could take one short melody and, just by applying the rules of inversion, create 3 or 4 new variations instantly. It was a way to build these huge, complex pieces really efficiently.
Wow. Okay, so that's vertical symmetry, up and down, but you mentioned another kind.
Right. There's also horizontal symmetries. This is about mirroring music in time.
In time. How does that work?
We call it retrograde.
Retrograde.
It's pretty simple in theory. You take a melody and you just play it completely backwards.
From the last note to the first note.
Exactly. It's like reading a sentence backwards and seeing if it still works.
I can't imagine that would sound very good most of the time.
Well, that's where the skill comes in. A retrograde arrangement is when a composer actually makes it sound beautiful both forwards and backwards. It's an incredible challenge. And here's the interesting part. A lot of the time, you, the listener, aren't even supposed to notice it.
So it's a secret.
Kind of.
Hmm.
For composers like Haydn or Mozart, it was like a hidden intellectual game for other musicians to find and admire. There's this famous piece by Bach called the Crab Canon. It's a melody that's played forward by one instrument while another instrument plays it backward at the exact same time.
And they fit together.
Perfectly. They meet right in the middle. It's not just music. It's pure mathematical engineering.
Okay, so we've looked at the tiny details. Let's zoom out a bit. What about the overall shape of a song?
That's a great question because symmetry is the key to the whole structure. Musicians even use shapes to describe it.
Shapes.
Yeah, and the most common one is what we call ABA form. Some people call it sandwich symmetry.
Sandwich symmetry. I like that. So what is it?
You have your main theme, that's section A.
Yeah.
Then you move to a different contrasting section, which is B.
And then?
Then you come back to A again at the end.
So the main theme is the bread, and the different part is the filling in the middle.
Exactly. It's so effective because it gives you this really strong sense of closure. You go on a little journey with section B, but coming back to A feels familiar, safe, and just satisfying.
And you hear that everywhere, right?
Everywhere, from Beethoven's sonatas to the chorus-verse structure of most pop songs today.
So that's the big picture, the architecture. What about the building blocks, the actual notes?
Yes, the distances between the notes, we call them intervals. And symmetry is huge here too. Chords and scales that are built with perfectly equal distances between the notes sound incredibly stable, very balanced.
And musicians are actually measuring these distances.
They are. They use standard mathematical ratios.
Okay.
When the steps going up a scale are the exact same as the steps coming down, the whole thing feels really calm and intentional.
So it really is science as much as art.
Absolutely. The most stable sounds, like an octave, are based on really simple, clean ratios, 2 to 1, 3 to 2. When composers use more complex asymmetrical ratios, the chords sound unstable. They create tension.
Which they want sometimes, right?
Oh, definitely. We'll get to that. But first, we should probably talk about the most fundamental symmetry of all,
Which is?
the octave. It's rooted in pure physics.
Okay, the octave. So that's playing a note and then the same note higher up.
8 steps higher, yeah. And the reason it sounds so harmonious is because the frequency of the sound wave exactly doubles. Exactly doubles. It's a perfect 2 to 1 ratio. That's not just a musical theory, it's a law of physics. The ancient Greeks were obsessed with this.
I've heard about that. Pythagoras and the string.
That's the one. He figured out that if you take a vibrating string and shorten it by exactly half, you get the same note, just an octave higher. It was proof that math and beauty were connected. And because that ratio is so perfect, it lets very different voices, like a man's deep voice and a woman's high voice, sing the same melody together and sound totally unified.
So the octave is like the anchor for all of music.
In every culture, yes.
This is fascinating. So we have pitch, we have the overall structure. What about the beat? Is there symmetry and rhythm too?
For sure. This is where we get something called a rhythmic palindrome.
A palindrome, like a word that's the same forwards and backwards. Race car.
Precisely. It's a beat pattern that sounds exactly the same whether you play it forwards or backwards.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Think of a pattern like a short note, then a really long note, then another short note.
Right, short, all short.
Play that forwards or backwards, it sounds identical. Drummers use these balanced patterns all the time to create a really steady, reliable foundation for the band.
It gives the music a pulse.
A heartbeat, yeah. That internal symmetry makes the music feel grounded, more connected to us.
So let's talk about some real-world examples. We mentioned Bach. But what about that table music I've read about? That sounds wild.
Oh, it's the ultimate test of a composer's skill.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine two musicians sitting across a table from each other. There's one single sheet of music between them.
One sheet for both of them.
One sheet. One player reads it normally from the top. The other player reads the same sheet from their side, so it's upside down and backward.
And it works.
If the composer did their job, the two parts fit together in perfect harmony. It has to be symmetrical, both vertically, the inversion, and horizontally, the retrograde. It's a mind-blowing feat of engineering.
Wow. So that's the super complex classical side. What about modern pop music? It feels so much simpler.
It is simpler, but it uses symmetry just as much. Pop relies on something called translational symmetry.
Translational symmetry. What's that?
It's a fancy word for repetition.
Oh.
Seriously, think about any big pop hit or dance track. It's built on repeating phrases, right?
Yeah.
Usually 4 or 8 bars long.
Yeah, the same beat or melody over and over.
That segment is literally translated or copied and pasted again and again. That extreme predictability is what makes a hook so effective. It's why it gets stuck in your head. Modern producers even use software to line up these beats with perfect mathematical precision. That's why it all sounds so clean and polished.
The symmetry isn't just in the sound, though, is it? I mean, you can see it.
You absolutely can. Look at the instruments themselves.
Like a violin or a guitar, they're perfectly mirrored.
And that's not just for looks, it's physics. That symmetrical shape helps the instrument vibrate evenly. Yeah. If a violin were lopsided, you'd get these weird muffled tones because the sound waves would be all over the place.
What about something like a flute?
Same idea. The holes are placed in a very specific, symmetrical, mathematical order to make sure the airflow is balanced and produces clear, pure notes.
And this all extends to the performance, too, the whole orchestra.
Yes. That's what you could call social symmetry.
Social symmetry.
A great conductor's main job is to create balance across the whole group. If the trumpets are way too loud, compared to the strings, for example, the overall symmetry of the sound is broken.
So they're balancing the sound from left to right on the stage.
Exactly. Making sure everyone is playing at the right volume, at the right speed. It's what lets dozens of people play as one single perfect entity.
Okay, so I have to ask a question that's been on my mind. If music is all about this perfect, predictable balance and order, doesn't that get, well, boring?
That is the single most important question. And the answer is yes, it would be boring. Because music isn't just about achieving balance. It's about the journey between balance and imbalance.
What do you mean?
Well, we said those simple symmetrical ratios create harmony, right? Stable sounds.
Right.
Composers will intentionally break those perfect ratios. They'll use notes that don't fit, creating what we call dissonance. Harsh, unbalanced sounds.
To create tension.
To create tension. Exactly.
Yeah.
Think of a movie score during a dramatic scene. It's full of sharp, chaotic, imbalanced sounds. That's the conflict. And then the genius of the composer is to guide the music back out of that chaos and resolve it into a smooth, symmetrical harmony again.
So it's like telling a story, tension and release.
That's all it is. It's an emotional story told through the balance and imbalance of mathematical relationships. You're basically hearing math in the air.
So in the end, symmetry is really the golden rule that holds everything in music together. From the physics of a single note to the structure of a whole symphony, it's mathematical order that we get to experience as emotion.
See you next time.